今から私たちのラブラブを見せつけてやるのです。行きますわよ、ダーリン。ほら、目を閉じなさい。
姉さん。
夜さん。
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Castaway Anime. I'm your host, Neon Manta,
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
and we're coming back doing some more sneaking, sleuthing, and spying with Spy X Family, the second half. What did you think?
Well, I want to start this podcast off correctly by giving you my new, updated number score of Spy X Family.
Oh, damn, we're gonna give the game away now?
Yep. Personally, I hereby give this show a 3 out of 10. Holy shit, it sucks so much! Dude, I want to punt Anya across the Grand Canyon right before punting her into the Grand Canyon. I hope yours next assassination attempt is on her own life. I hope Lloyd Forger spies on the secret to making an anime that doesn't suck, and I wish yours brother would stop spamming general chat with his arguments on why incest is technically morally correct. Fuck this show! Fuck Lloyd, fuck fuck on. Actually, don't fuck on it. That'd be weird. Fuck everything. So those are my thoughts on Spy X Family.
Well, yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Being for real now, it's probably one of my favorite things, like, ever. It's just a really
damn.
good thing.
It is a good thing. I wouldn't call it one of my favorite things ever just yet, but it is a good one. And remember, if you enjoy the podcast, please be sure to hit the like button, head on down to the comments to let us know what you think of the show, and finally subscribe to the channel for more episodes of Castaway Anime and other videos.
This should be a tagline on the show, right? I was looking at the Mal reviews, and I saw this, and it was just perfect, all right? This should be the show's tagline. It's so good, Rebel Panda gave it a 7. Do you know who Rebel
Panda is?
He reviews every single seasonal, and he hates everything. I've only seen him like 2 other shows aside from Spy Family, and that's A Sister's All You Need and Kaguya-sama. He doesn't like anything.
Okay, you said his name like he was he was someone that I probably should have known.
I mean, I feel like most people who frequent Mal reviews know him.
Oh, Mal review. Okay,
Yeah.
Well, see, your first mistake was assuming that literally any good whatsoever came from Mal reviews.
Oh, I never assumed that. I know they're complete garbage.
I thought he was a YouTuber. I thought you were describing like a that anime snob type of person.
I mean, he is a that anime snob kind of person. Kind of.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we'll hold off actual number scores for right now, but it's Spy X Family is definitely a very good show. It has, compared to the first half of the season, I'm sorry, not season, cour.
Cour.
The first cour, and we're getting the second cour in the fall, even though it's fucking season 2.
Yeah. All right. We were talking about this before the show, but like we both agree the core stuff is just dumb. Just call it season 2. That's what it is. It's season 2. For all intents and purposes, this is season 1. That's season 2.
Or is it season 1A and season 1B, like how Western shows do it?
I don't watch enough Western shows to actually be familiar with that. I only watch anime. This is my life. Please send help.
Don't worry, I'll do my due diligence and indoctrinate you with Western cartoons like The Owl House.
So last time we didn't really talk much about themes, just because we were like, you know, it's cute, it's fun. It doesn't, it's not always very deep. Although I'd argue that it does have very great characterization. But I think there is, upon watching these episodes and also reading the first chapter of the manga, I think I've found sort of the core of what this show is trying to get at. Which is that basically in family, even though your family is basically the people who you are closest to or supposed to be closest to, families, each member of a family is always hiding secrets from all the other members in the family, and that's completely normal and happens in every family. And Spy Family is basically that taken to the extreme. Because I think the show wants you to realize this, which is that even though each member has this massive, you know, history, past, and occupation that they're hiding from each other. Like Anya's this telepath, yours this assassin, Lloyd is a spy. For all intents and purposes, they're like a healthy, functional family, and I think the show wants you to realize that and be like, well, hold on, they're basically a normal family. The Secret doesn't really seem to be doing a whole lot aside from the inevitability that Lloyd's gonna have to spy on Yor for an assassination attempt or something like that. But for all intents and purposes, it is a normal family.
Yeah, Lloyd does in fact spy on Yor at one point.
Yes, that does happen in these episodes. So you're more. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking of Yor, I noticed this while I was out like looking at fan reaction both online and at CEO 2022, just talking with people there, the fighting game convention that I was at this last weekend at the time of this recording. I was talking because it's the Spy X Family is the big current anime right now. It's the hot shit. People be talking about it. And the most common criticism I see of the show is that they can't get behind Yor because they feel like the show is romanticizing a killer.
I didn't feel that way at all. I mean, I guess technically Lloyd, is beginning to feel romantic feelings towards Yor. But like, I don't think it's necessarily romanticizing the act of assassinating or anything like that. And even if it did, I wouldn't care. So
yeah, I want Yor to kill me. I'd thank her.
I'd be lucky to be killed by Yor.
I bring this up because it is fascinating to think about how every light that Lloyd is portrayed in is even though he's like at first not necessarily a dick to Anya, but is not exactly the most like immediately warming and welcoming to her because he's only adopting her just to fulfill his mission. He didn't adopt her out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah, like Lloyd himself isn't exactly, I mean, he's obviously doing things for like the greater good, but in terms of just being an overall pleasant person, he is not always that.
Yeah, like he has admirable goals, and the means that which he does them. Not to say also that Lloyd has definitely not killed people, because we have definitely seen Lloyd kill a few people. I'm pretty sure, at least. If we haven't seen him do it in the show, he has most certainly killed people in his line of work, and I refuse to believe otherwise.
I mean, yeah, he's not afraid to send a rat-a-tat-tat towards someone's way. I'm sure he kills people like about as often as Yor. And granted, they're always like, I'm fighting the government. I'm fighting the troops the government sends out. And the government is clearly very corrupt and very despicable and needs to be stopped. But he is still gadding people.
Yeah, he's the top spy of Westalis, and he's like inserting himself in the country of Ostania. And at least when we see Lloyd do his job, he's doing it like it is with no ulterior motives. He is trying to bring peace between the nations and prevent war and bring about world peace. Whereas Yor is not only just killing at the behest of her superiors who just tell her who to kill and she gets paid for it. She also, like Lloyd treats it as a business. Yor like revels in murder and like gets almost kind of turned on by it.
You bring that up, but here's another point, right? I'd say my biggest complaint about the first season of Spy Family, and it's a really minor one, is that we don't really see much of Yor killing people. We get it in episode 2.
I'm glad you brought that up because that literally the same exact criticism that I have.
Like, we get a lot of Lloyd, we get a lot of Anya. Yours just kind of there. And like, we see her brutally murder someone in episode 2, which is cool, and it was a really shocking and, very fun scene. At least I would consider it fun. That's fun. Seeing Yor kill someone is fun.
I wouldn't call it fun. It was definitely more of like an inside look at like the real Yor.
Well, anyway, but then it's mostly just her being a mom while also occasionally kicking people really hard. And, it is badass and it is cool to see on screen. And I would like to be kicked by Yor and would be thanking her for it, frankly. But we don't see her occupation or her going about her job or her work. And I think this is an intentional choice. I think
Is it?
I think we'll probably get more of her eventually. But I think the writer was afraid of making Yor come off as unlikable.
Well, then have her show us her killing people who are bad then.
Fair. I think the writer just didn't it's one of two things. Either it's an intentional choice because they don't know how to make her do that while also be likable, which frankly, I don't care who she kills. She's still a likable character.
It's okay,
me.
She's hot. She can get away with it.
Exactly. Either that or the writer just doesn't know what Yor's place in the narrative is yet, which is also just as likely to me. I think it honestly might be a combination of those two things.
It's interesting that you say that because that brings me to like another problem that I have with the show as a whole. It is mind you, it's a good show, but I feel like the order of events and how occurs, it feels very episodic. It doesn't feel like there's this overarching narrative. Like, yeah, every step along the path of this journey that we take is moving the story forward, but it feels like they're all separate events that just happen to be part of the same narrative, whereas like it should feel like, oh, the events in this episode happen, which are now leading into the events of this episode. And it's like a never-ending domino chain where it feels like each episode is, all right, this thing happened. All right, we're done with that. Now we're going on to the next episode, new thing. And that's not a bad thing in like an episodic TV show, but this is supposed to be like a continuous narrative.
I get what you're saying, and there is actually one point where this kind of bothered me, right? And it's at the very end of episode 11, where Anya's like, I want a dog, and then it shows the viewer a dog at a very abusive kennel, who, there's like this little grainy film effect image of like the Forger family that plays like intercut between shots of the dog. Which makes me think
the dog has a secret identity as well.
I think it does. And it's gonna be hilarious to see that. But
if going off of like that one hint that it gave us, like I can only assume it's maybe a telepath like Anya, but instead of being able to read people's minds, it can see into the future.
I was about to say that. I think that is what his power is gonna be. But anyway,
and if it is, that's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. But the problem is, right, that episode 12 begins, and I'm really hyped up. I'm like, okay, they're gonna get a dog.
Oh, here comes the dog.
Yeah, they're gonna
see in season 2, baby.
Yeah, I was so excited. Like, oh, they're gonna get a new member of the family. It's just an aquarium episode where it's like, I'm suffering from overwork, and yet there's a mission at the aquarium, and we're gonna do that instead of ever catching up with the dog. Which is a little frustrating. I got over it quick enough, and it doesn't bother me on the long term, but like that temporary frustration did happen, and it's like, but
see you in 3 months.
But I do get what you mean when you say like it feels episodic and like nothing is really I mean I wouldn't say nothing is building on it, because there is build up, but the way it's presented is very episodic.
Yeah, like in Maiden Abyss that we just did recently, it feels like every episode is a cause and effect that leads into each other. Like Whereas you could watch some of the episodes in this show out of order, and you would be like, you would not assume like if you took the if you swapped episodes 11 and 12, I think like you wouldn't miss any continuity, right?
Not that I can think of. Yeah, I think you could honestly swap them. I mean, there's probably small bits of dialogue that reference episode 11, but otherwise they are self-contained stories. And I get how that could annoy you, because like when you're doing a plot focused show, you want to make sure it's like a plot focused show and that you make the plot like an appeal of the show. But for me, it's like I'm a huge slice of life fan, yeah. Like way too big into slice of life. So when I see something that's episodic, I don't go, please lead into this better. I want this to feel like a continuous narrative. I'm like, ah, hell yeah, we get an episodic show. That's awesome. That's based. I want to watch this. I'm just really into episodic shows, so I don't mind if it feels episodic sometimes, except for the one exception, which is at the end of episode 11, which was just kind of weird.
Yeah, going back to the thing about Yor real quick and how they didn't show us enough of her doing her assassin stuff. I do agree that it feels weirder in contrast where we see Lloyd being a spy nonstop, and we see Yor doing her assassin stuff once, and then all her other assassination stuff is on off screen. And yes, while we do see her be a badass by doing all her like super strength moves and fighting people like out in the street, I wouldn't necessarily call that her assassin job.
Yeah.
That's just her being.
That's more of a running gag than anything.
Yeah, like it doesn't count because like Lloyd also does the same thing.
I think we'll probably get some more Yor stuff in season 2. Well, I mean, sorry, Cour 2. Fuck this naming scheme. I want death. Please end me. But anyway, I think we'll get more of that. But because basically, like, I don't know how the plot would be able to continue, like at a steady pace without going into some of Yor's stuff. Because what we have right now isn't enough to last 12 episodes. You're gonna
Yeah, it
have to
also kind of makes Yor a bit of a boring character because like the only dive into like this block of episodes into her character that we get is when her brother shows up and we get to see like a couple flashbacks to when they were kids. But like that's all the development that she gets. Like honestly, the rest of her like in this batch of episodes feels like she's just there. She's like there for almost like comedic effect or to punch someone's face in.
There is a little bit of her wanting to be, and granted, this was kind of always there from the beginning, but like she feels like an incompetent mother, and so she keeps on, trying to be a more competent mother. She wants to cook and be all housewifey like. But that like I said, that's sort of been there from the beginning. I will say Yor is kind of the weak link of the three. I like Lloyd a lot. I mean, granted, I do really love Yor, right? I absolutely adore her, but she's also like I just want her to do more, and that is a little frustrating.
The most she on the list of the Forger family members that well, maybe I shouldn't say that.
No! Here,
I was gonna say on the ranking list of hottest Forger family members, she is at the top. I'll leave it up to your imagination what places 2 and 3 are.
Oh God!
I'll never tell. And like especially after holy shit, that one POV shot of shit-faced Yor like brushing her neck, like her hair back, leaning in for that kiss on Lloyd got me acting up for real.
That entire scene had me like, okay, well, I guess we're sort of covering this out of order. So to clarify, all right, Yor's brother gets invited to the Forger family house because he wants to make sure that Lloyd Forger is a coolio husband. But then he gets shit-faced drunk and he's like, show me that you're in love. Show me. Come on. You need to prove to me your worth.
Do it, no balls.
Yeah. If you're really married, you should go kiss right now in front of me because I'm a cuck apparently.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking because they showed the flashback of how when he was a little boy, he was like, sis, I'm gonna marry you one day, and then because like she knows that can't happen. Like, but it's like in like a big sister type way, being like, oh, I guess I'll wait for you then. Like she's just saying that to placate to him, and.
Yeah.
Like, part of me still thinks that he knows that as well, but then I see things like his police locker is decorated in like pictures exclusively of his sister, and like it's seeing the stuff of him being like, I can't bear to let you kiss another man, like, and after like the whole marriage thing, I'm like, he doesn't actually love his sister like that, does he?
I think what they're getting at is that he's just very overprotective of her and dotes on her constantly. Like basically the ultimate big brother love.
Well, he's the little brother.
Little brother, yeah. I'm so used to big brothers in anime that I default to it.
Yeah, she's the One-san in this one. He is not the Oni-chan.
So anyway,
Yuri also says that like he wants to see her. He wanted to see her like married off to a nice man at some point. So I joking aside, I'm pretty sure he is not into his sister like that. But it is funny to think of that if he is, that makes him a self-appointed cuck.
So anyway, they have this really tense and exciting kissing scene, which makes it sound sexual when I put it like that. But it's really just.
Did you not see the shot? I mean,
okay, like, to be fair,
POV, you are Lloyd, and Yor is like drunk, wasted off her ass on wine, leaning in for the kiss. The sound design, perfect. We are reaching Dress Up Darling episode 2 levels. No, even better. The love hotel scene from Dress Up Darling. It's like that level. If only for a few seconds.
Just a small glimpse of that, yeah, but. It's mostly just there to be like, what are they going to kiss? Awooga? Are they going to do it? And it lasts forever, but like it held my attention pretty well. I can see some people getting really annoyed at how long, just how long it lasts. It's a long scene for them to just have their faces almost be touching.
It wasn't that long. It was only like a couple minutes.
It felt long to me, but I mean, I'm not complaining.
It was a cliffhanger between episodes. So if you were watching it week to week, then I suppose the wait that long only for her to slap her brother instead.
But anyway, speaking of that, so I did not actually end up keeping up with Spy X Family week to week. So
neither did I.
So I was making a point about how like I was super excited for each episode as it came out, and I watched episodes 8 and 9 as they came out, like within a few days. But then I went on vacation and watched episodes 10 through 12 yesterday, actually.
Well, I mean, vacation is when you're not supposed to do work-related stuff, and we shuffled around the schedule to work around both of our vacations that were happening like one after the other. So I don't think that's necessarily a knock against the show itself. It's just our personal schedules.
Yeah, it isn't a knock against the show. What actually it's more of a positive towards the show when you consider that I really wanted to watch Spy X Family, but I wasn't about to do that with my brothers in the room yelling and just being themselves and being distracted from the show constantly.
Hey, like, hey, yo, what that little girl doing with the...
Okay, actually, funny story about my brothers and Spy X Family. I changed my my desktop background to Anya sleeping with Lloyd in that one scene in episode 1, and they literally pointed at it like it was weird and pedophilic.
They are Twitter. They are TikTok. We glossed over him a little bit, but how do you feel about Yuri?
I'm still waiting to get attached to him. I think that all right, so what I like about him from a narrative perspective is that he's the first hidden identity that Lloyd finds out about. He basically Yuri is using like this standard conversation used from like members of the secret police in Ostania. He's using this standard conversation, and Lloyd picks up on that, and he's like, "Ah, he's a member of the secret police because this is the conversation they use to get closer to their enemies." Which, by the way, I think it's hilarious that he's using the conversation that's supposed to get them closer to their enemies on Lloyd.
He is an enemy.
Yeah, at least in Yuri's eyes. So that's pretty funny. But basically Lloyd, realizes that. And then Yuri gets drunk off his ass. And admittedly, all right, drunk Yor, hot, cute. Drunk Yuri,
hot, cute. Hotter even.
Sure, let's go with that. No, he's
I mean, the show kind of portrays him to be like a twink on the outside, but is actually almost as sadistic and effective at his job as Yor is.
That is something interesting. Sadism runs in the family, apparently. But I hesitate to call him annoying. Because I wasn't annoyed.
No, he's not annoying.
Yeah, I wasn't annoyed by his drunk antics. But they're like just like they're not enough to annoy me, but they're just enough to where like I don't find them endearing. They're a little funny at times, but it's not like oh hey, I'm sold on this character because he's a fun drunk. It's like nah. If anything, it kind of puts me off from being endeared to his character. His love of Yor is, I guess, a little admirable at times. But then,
I mean, he is so devoted to her that he is willing to accept any of her bullshit, especially when it's just like, oh yeah, hey bro, the reason I didn't tell you that I was been married for a year is because I forgore.
He literally bought that, which is
and then he's
great.
Like, wait, but like you went to a party recently, why didn't you like tell me like then? And then she's like, I forgore that I forgore to tell you. And he's like, well, I believe it.
That
story checks out.
Fucking hilarious. I mean, to be fair, Yor is also airheaded enough to probably genuinely do that.
And she's like, she's so confident to Lloyd about it, being like, don't worry, Lloyd, I've got a foolproof plan to like, it's gonna cover all my bases. I got the perfect alibi. Yup, just kind of slipped my mind for a year, bro. I'm sorry, my B.
Incredible.
Joe Biden moment.
So then that is what gets Lloyd to basically be a little sus of Yor for the first time. He's like, oh my god, her brother is a member of the secret police. But he
but
deduces,
does she know about that?
Yeah, he deduces that she probably doesn't know about it. But he's like, just in case, I need to put like I think it's like a wiretap in her collar or something like that.
Yeah, he's
her.
bugging her.
Yeah, so he bugs her at work, and then eventually he sets up this scheme. Right, he puts on a face and has Afro Man. I don't actually know his real name.
Frankie.
Frankie, there we go. And him and Frankie dress up as members of like the Ostania police, and they pretend like they're about to apprehend her for, I think, like some kind of letter. It's been a while since I've seen the episode, so I don't actually remember what the letter was about.
They're accusing her of leaking documents.
All right. And all right, you actually recap this because my memory is a little fuzzy on this scene.
Yeah, this is like the last moment that Yor gets to like develop her character a little, which is kind of cheating because this is how they develop her character every single time. Like she says, stay away from my family, or like don't touch my daughter. and then either threatens to punch someone or does punch someone or kick someone. And
I
it's
mean,
like,
hey, it's effective every time.
it is, but like it's not as effective as when it was like in the first batch of episodes when those thugs are like trying to take Anya, and then she like throws all her groceries down and just like beats the shit out of them, and like makes a really cool face. And it's like, stay away from my daughter. And it's like, all right, you did it. You did the cool thing. It's just not as effective when it happens multiple times.
It's not as effective, but I still do enjoy it.
Yeah, because like
and
she's standing up for Lloyd and like his honor, and being like, if like I trust my husband, he is a good person, and if you try to like take me or take any members of my family, I will show no mercy.
So that basically gets Lloyd to feel bad for trying to spy on Yor. So he like takes the bug back and throws it in the trash. And hold on, I wrote this down on a Google Doc somewhere. There's a specific line in this episode. Yor says something like, "I was almost ruined as a wife," which A is dark, and B, if you needed any reason to believe that Lloyd is in the right for spying on Ostania, there you have it. That is all the reason you need.
I I'm trying to remember. I literally was gonna say something about your being cool. Oh yeah. What I do find fascinating about Yor when she stands up for her family, as opposed to like when she's just doing her assassin job. Granted, of course, we've only ever seen her do her assassin job once, and then we get to see like little bits and pieces of her being like romantically or like weirdly attracted to sharp thing like knives or like paintings of guillotines and whatnot. When she's doing her assassin job, she's like emotionally like she's like in a trance almost, and she like takes a weird pleasure in doing it. But when she's like standing up for her family, she gets a lot more like serious and noble. Like any pleasure that she derives, she doesn't derive pleasure from beating the shit out of people who take Anya. She like only feels motherly protection towards her, which I think is a neat bit of characterization.
Yeah, that's all nice.
It's basic, and they kind of repeat it a bunch of times, which is why it's less effective every time. But it's a something that they don't beat you over the head with.
All right, so here's
At
a
least
question.
the point that I'm making, they don't
Yeah.
beat you over the head with it in the
Yeah.
show.
So here's a question. I think I know the answer, but who is your favorite character in Spy Family?
Okay, well, I have. If we're talking favorite there's a difference between who my favorite character is and who the best character is, and which is weird because usually my favorite characters in shows or movies or games or stuff like that are the best characters, because I tend to be attracted to like good writing. Like for example, in Love is War, I think the best character in that show is Ishigami by a country mile, and he is also my favorite character because of that. Season 2 made Ishigami my favorite character, who I was already a fan of in Season 1. And if we're going by who I think the best character in Spy Family is right now, it's... I mean, like, my dick says Yor, but my higher brain says, like, otherwise. If... There hasn't been, like, a big explosive moment to be like, oh yeah, this is my guy. It's definitely a toss-up between Lloyd and Anya, and that's only because they're getting the main character bias. Cause like Lloyd is definitely more developed as a character than Anya, whereas Anya tends to get, if Lloyd, all of the best moments of the show happen to either Lloyd or Anya. Yor doesn't get too many great moments. So I couldn't tell you between Lloyd or Anya, but it's definitely they're miles ahead of every other character.
My personal favorite character is definitely Anya. and episodes 10 and 11 were the ones to absolutely solidify that for me. And what I like about her is that she starts off as sort of the cute child character.
Wait,
right
hold on.
from
I'm
the-
sorry to interrupt you. I'm retarded. I just remembered the best character is actually Master Henderson.
Master Henderson. Is he the elegant guy?
Yes.
Okay.
He is actually
Okay, you
the
know what?
best
Yeah,
character in the show.
you're completely right on that. Mr. Elegant is the absolute best character in the entire show. See, I don't know his name because I always call him Mr. Elegant in my head.
He is very elegant, very brilliant.
He is very, very elegant. But I was saying, my favorite thing about Anya, all right, she starts off as just another, cute child character. She has some cute moments. Her love of peanuts, the whole waku waku thing.
Very, very mascot character-esque.
Yeah. But as she goes on, what you realize is that Anya is completely incompetent and like kind of a lazy.
She's kind of a retard.
Yeah, she's completely. Okay, so episodes 10 and 11 honestly characterized her with so many negative traits that it was astonishing to me, but somehow every time she was just a lazy bum, it just made me love her more. So she gets an F on all her worksheets in school, then says in her mind with like a smug face, right? Oh, but I can just read people's minds. The only thing I need to get good at is not school. I just need to know who's the smartest one in the class, then copy them.
And it gives a big smug ass grin.
Yeah.
I love how, Lloyd's looking over all her grades, and then as he's like trying to talk to her about it, she's like, I'm very busy right now. Like, stone face looking at the TV in the dark.
And then in episode 11, right? So Anya, Lloyd basically wants Anya to get her first Stella. So he takes her to do community service. Anya is so incompetent, so lazy, that she gets them kicked out of the hospital they're doing community service at because she's just that annoying to be around for all the people who are trying to get their jobs done. What
And
the hell?
but mind you, this is a fucking hospital where like community service is probably like the most appreciated and wanted in a place like that. And the fact that like she is so bad at everything that they're like, yeah, no, your daughter is actually a detriment. Get the fuck out.
Dude, they have her sorting books in the library, right? She just
And she
starts
just
reading
reading
manga.
manga.
Yeah.
Literally me.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, I do the same thing.
My favorite joke in that episode is where she's like Lloyd is trying to like find any avenue of talent that she could have and develop to earn Stella, and he's like, oh, I know, she can develop in the arts. And then she like he sees her drawing, and he's like, ooh, what's that? Is that a leopard? Oh no, it's a dog or some shit. And she's like, this is a cow. And then
It's a
like
moo-moo
they're just staring
cow.
at each other in silence while the music is still playing. You feel like there would be another line of dialogue, but they're just like staring at each other for like 10 seconds, and then it's like, music. She could learn music.
It's so good. And like in episode 10 with the montage of Yor trying to train Anya, which to be fair, that was a really good Yor moment, but it was especially a really good Anya moment when, you see Yor perfectly, like throwing the ball such that it bounces off like 4 trees. And then Anya is just like astonished at her skills, and then she like tries and replicates everything and completely falls on her head. I think at one point she literally falls on her head.
Yeah, I think she like trips at one point, but then when she's trying to do her big super anime shonen move and be like, this is it, this is my killer shot, here it goes, then she just like bounces the ball off of the like 1 inch in front of her, and then just bounces over, and then she loses because of it. Speaking of the dodgeball episode, I'd say behind the Lloyd man episode where Lloyd dresses up to be the spy on the cartoon for his daughter, I'd say this is definitely the second best episode of the show, because we get to see more of we get to see more of Best Boy Henderson and his morning routine. We get to see him in the shower. I was so upset we didn't get a a tilt up shot. And like I'm surprised he
Crying.
did not. He should get the same level of anime shower scene treatment that all anime girls do. It was not fair. We were cucked.
Dude, all right, you wouldn't be upsetting the men who are watching the show by
You'd
showing
be upsetting
that
the women. You'd be upsetting the men and women. It's Pride Month, goddammit.
everyone would be okay with it because he's just that elegant. Episode 10 almost feels like it doesn't feel like it's from an entirely different show, but it has a very distinct sort of tone to it that I don't think any other show in the series quite has to the same extent, where it almost feels like it's from some kind of like absurdist surrealist comedy. The entire episode
It does feel like you could chop it out of the season entirely and miss nothing in the story, but doing that would be a disservice to your entertainment.
Absolutely. It's basically about a bunch of grade schoolers playing dodgeball as overdramatically as possible. So, like, they're facing off against each other, and the one guy, I forget his name, but he's like,
No,
I need to...
It's the what? Oh, Damien?
Damien, there we go. How do I forget every
Okay.
single character's name? Okay, but anyway, Damien is like, I need to overtake my
'cause
brother because
Yeah,
everyone loves
that's
my
actually
brother.
the first. Yeah, that's the first sense of like what Damien's motivation is, that he's trying to be the imperial scholar so he can get his father's attention, because he's probably like his brother probably gets like all the love and attention in the family. So he's got a chip on his shoulder, and so he's got to reluctantly team up with Anya and all the other kids in his class, because there's a rumor going around where the winner of the dodgeball tournament will win will be crowned an MVP, and that MVP will be given a Stella. But it is no easy feat. It is a Herculean task that Anya's class is up against, because in order to win the dodgeball game, they gotta go up against the best, my favorite character in the show, the Alpha Chad 6-year-old, the monster of Bodam, Bazooka motherfucking Bill Watkins.
He's like this super beefy grade schooler who's like doesn't even look like a grade schooler. He looks
I
like...
could not tell you the last time I instantly fell in love with a character this fast. He's the son of a war general, and he's like, he has this hilarious deep voice that is not and incredibly masculine, but he's more ripped than I am, and he's fucking 6.
And like
this kid would beat me in a fight.
Oh yeah, he would pound me to pieces. And there's like this one flashback where it's like he's honing his skills with I think it was like throwing a ball, and he's like making all these calculations in his head, trying to become like the ultimate sports champion as early as possible, win all the trophies.
And then his dad comes in, and he's just immediately in that deep voice, he's like, "Daddy."
And so
good.
I think his first throw of the entire game, which by the way, I was a little confused as to why there was only one ball. Is dodgeball just played differently in Japan?
Maybe.
But anyway, he gets the ball, right? He throws it, and it ricochets off 4 people.
And takes them all out at once.
And it's just so overdramatic, overwrought, but in the best way. Where it's like, at one point, one of Damien's lackeys is like jumping in front of him in order to like sacrifice his own life. And he gets hit in the head with the ball. And there's like this suit, like they drag it out so long, but every second it's dragged out just gets funnier and funnier, because that's the joke.
I love this one line where it's like, "I have so many great memories of you, Damien. I can't think of any right now, but I'm sure they were there."
Which is just absolutely incredible. And so he sacrifices himself for the greater good, but it does nothing against this absolute hulk of a man.
The absolute unit. And
Yeah.
the only one who could possibly stand a chance is Anya, who is reading his mind and dodging all of his attacks.
He gets
Especially
so
one was like
he
he
gets so
yeah
frustrated.
she is quite literally in his head. He's at one point he's like, that's it, I'm gonna have to use one of my special shots that are like it's like a kind of a pump fake where I'll throw it and it looks like it's going straight, but actually it's gonna curve and it's gonna hit her as she's dodging, because she's gonna try to dodge, and therefore I'll catch her in the act. And then she's just like, oh, and it's like reads his mind, and then it just stands still as it hits someone else behind her. And he's like, God damn it!
I love the scenes where Anya is using her mind reading more tactically, and this is one of those examples, a very silly example, which was very fun to watch unfold. And like, the animators clearly had so much fun with this episode. Like this.
Oh yeah,
episode,
this is like the second best looking episode of the show, behind the Lloyd Man episode.
Yeah, like there's like this one part where like the entire color scheme changes. The background gets replaced with, I think it's like this space-like background or something like that.
It's kind of Sailor Moon-esque.
Yeah, and like the camera is spinning constantly moving. It feels so kinetic. Like it's just a very well animated and very well directed episode too. Like it so perfectly captures the hilarity and absurdity and the hype of the episode.
Yeah, definitely the most shonen feeling of all the episodes, even down to references. Since I know you're not a Dragon Ball head, you probably didn't catch this, but there was this scene during Damien's training in the playground with his lackeys, and at one point he's like trying to catch this big purple energy blast, but it's actually like a tire on a swing, and the location he's in is straight up just Planet Namek from DBZ, down to the green grass and the trees. It's literally just Namek.
Yep, did not get that reference.
I mean, surely you got the Naruto shadow clone thing then, right?
I didn't know that was from Naruto, but I knew it was a reference instinctively.
I mean, I might be like kind of wrong on this. They specifically say shadow clone, so maybe, and I'm only because like Naruto like is most associated with shadow clone, so I don't think the technique those three kids were doing was necessarily a thing Naruto does in the show, but like I'd imagine if it's either like they just borrowed the name, or maybe it's not even a Naruto reference at all. It's more like just a thing kids would do.
It could be that. Anything else to say about episode 10?
This better not be the last we see of Bill Watkins. I need more of him.
I would love another episode with him in it. He is such a fun character.
Oh yeah, and Damien gets his shonen anime moment protecting Anya, trying to catch the ball to keep it from hitting her, and that was pretty cool.
Anya was like, maybe you're not a bad person after all. And then at the end of the game, they're immediately back to arguing with each other.
She's constantly calling him a shithead.
I honestly like really enjoy Anya and Damien's dynamic of just constantly arguing with each other at every conceivable turn. It does a lot for Anya's character.
It's funny when we know that Damien's like is probably secretly attracted to her.
Oh, not probably, more like definitely.
Yep. One last note about episode 10 before we move on to the last couple episodes. I wrote, the last note I have here is, I love Yor's fashion sense. Yor definitely has the best outfits out of anyone in the show.
Oh, for sure.
Her assassin outfit, her housewife outfit, her pajamas. I literally have a note from the last episode that just says your pajamas. Her training outfit when she's training Anya, very good. I would say, I think Kitagawa has a better. I was gonna say, yeah, Kitagawa has a better design than Yor. No. Yor has better design, but I love Kitagawa's like as a character more.
I I mean, if we're making that comparison, who do I like more, Yor or Kitagawa? That's actually a really difficult question. I don't know if I have
I
an
mean,
answer.
I'd say Kitagawa's gotten a lot more like good moments than Yor has, like in the context of their own narratives. I'm sure once yours gets hers, she'll like shoot up the ranks. But as of right
Yeah.
now, like Kitagawa's got a stranglehold.
I don't know. They're kind of evenly matched in my mind. Although, to be fair, Yor is the weak link, so the fact that she's even, being compared to Kitagawa and me not knowing which one is better is basically a testament to this show's overall characterization.
We do make progress in the narrative come episode 11, where Anya does receive her first Stella by sensing a drowning boy at the hospital and trying to save his life.
Yeah. So basically, Anya, first of all, she's completely incompetent and fails community service just so hard. But then, as they're leaving while they're being kicked out, she uses her mind reading powers once for good, where she hears this boy in his head going like, "Oh my god, I'm drowning. It's gonna be, it's a nightmare, nightmare, nightmare." And Anya's like, "Oh, I need to help her." She like keeps on having to like, because she doesn't have time to explain it. So, and also explaining it would reveal her powers. So she's like, I really want to swim, and then just rushes down to the pool. And then when she gets there,
I'm gonna
everyone's
be a
like,
pro swimmer and get Stella that way, so I'm going to the pool.
"Oh yeah, she does say that." And then when she gets to the pool, all the adults are like, "Why are you here?" She's like, I want to swim." Just jumps in.
Yep.
And she tries to pull him out, but Anya's like 6. She's probably a terrible swimmer, and so she's
Yep.
like running out of strength as she tries to pull him down. I really like the shot of her swimming towards the camera. It's just a really like, for some reason, that shot of all the shots has stuck in my mind. Like, I can just remember it with vivid detail of her swimming down. And then she's like running out of strength, like, "Oh no, I can't save him." And then Lloyd jumps in and gets both of them out of the pool. He's like, What were you doing, Anya?" And then all the adults are like, "Oh my god, what happened?" And the situation gets explained, except without all the mind reading stuff. Anya was just like, "I wanted to swim and I saw bubbles." And so she gets rewarded a Stella for her efforts. And one thing I really like is that it immediately goes to her head. She gets a Stella and never shuts up about it. She's like, "Call me Starlight Anya."
Yeah, I was gonna say, I demand that, Becky, that you call me Starlight Anya. I will not respond to anything else.
There's one scene where Anya's like sort of sad about, people realize like it's going to her head, and also, they're just being prejudiced against her out of jealousy. And I think it's when Damien insults her like usual that she gets upset about it. And Becky's like, "Come on, don't listen to them, Anya." Doesn't respond. Starlight Anya finally responds.
Yep. I do like the scene of her voicing over other characters in her head with her voice, as she's like, she's imagining befriending Damien in her head, and then her father coming in being like, "Oh, you did it! You saved the world, Anya, and world
Dude,
peace is achieved."
It's so fun. Like,
You are not immune to Anya propaganda.
I was never immune. She has me wrapped around her little itsy bitsy finger.
Nah, I wouldn't say it like that, but
that's not even sus. You made it sus.
it's a little
She
sus.
literally says, "My wee whittle hands." Come on.
Yeah. She says that about herself.
There's one note I have that's all caps and 5 lines long. I'm just gonna read this out. No, more CG pedestrians. This time they're children. No, the CG children are in agony because they're CG. It hurts. The children hurt. They're in pain. All because they're CG. Why would you do this? Wit, Cloverworks, it's all your fault. No. So that's...
Yeah, it never goes away. The actual worst thing about the show never goes away, sadly.
Each new criticism we have, we say that's the worst thing in this show.
I'm not the nothing in this show has been worse than the CG crowds because it's been constant.
I wouldn't say
It's like
constant, but
well,
it
constant,
is...
consistent.
Yeah,
It's been
consistent.
in every episode.
There we go.
And it
Well,
really shouldn't be.
I actually
Well, actually,
didn't
was it
notice...
in episode 5?
I
don't think it was in episode 5.
Was it in episode 10? I don't remember seeing any in episode 10.
I think there might have been. I definitely remember seeing it in like every other episode.
I don't actually remember seeing any in episode 12 either. But I saw a lot of them.
I
Okay.
definitely saw him in 11
Oh wait,
and 12.
actually, okay, I remember now. There's like this one shot of all these people at the aquarium, and a lot of them are CG. If I'm remembering this correctly, I may have just invented this memory in my head, but I think I remember there being a shot of like the aquarium at large, and there's a bunch of CG pedestrians.
Speaking of the aquarium, shout out to the cameo that I made in that episode. I was very flattered that Wit and Cloverworks reached out to me and wanted to put my likeness in the show.
Brilliant. The best brand deal we've ever done.
Yeah, it's on screen right now. There I am, clear as day. What else is there? I feel like we're starting to run out of things because just not a lot of things happened in this batch of episodes.
I mean, it wasn't... Although I guess the first few episodes are like setting everything up, so there is sort of always more to say about the early episodes of a show. One of my early notes about episode 12, right? So episode 12 is basically about Lloyd being overworked from having so many spy things and also having to pretend family, although the facade is falling. It's becoming a real family, and it kind of already is a real family in most regards. They just really haven't announced it yet, but he still has to put up something of a facade around his family members. He's like, it's exhausting. Spy work is exhausting. And so I put near the beginning of the episode, why do I feel like this is going the direction of My Dress Up Darling episode 4? And it kinda does, but I don't think it has the same impact, at least in terms of like tackling the topic of overwork. Lloyd is very obviously overworked. He has to put up this facade for his neighbors because they're sort of starting to suspect him of like cheating on Yor because he's out so much when he's actually out doing spy work. So he has to deal with that. He has to deal with a new spy mission. He has to deal with taking them to the aquarium in order to convince the neighbors that he's a good father. And the resolution to the arc is sort of like, I'm tired, but like, it's for the sake of the world at large, so I'll be as tired as I need to in order to save the world and make sure that Ostania gets its ass kicked.
Yeah. I'm like kind of actually out of things to say because I feel like we've gone through pretty much everything.
I do have one last thing to say about episode 12, which is that I think it's sort of like the core of what Spy X Family's slice of life is. Like the core of the premise almost. Where it's like, fun family outing, but also there's spy stuff. And, a little bit of a character arc in terms of like his overwork, which to be fair isn't tackled with a whole lot of depth, but it's enough to make the episode, more enjoyable to go through. So I think it's very core Spy X Family and core of what the show is getting at.
Yeah, I suppose. I did find it very weird that there was like this very unnecessary recap at the start of episode 12 that they could have easily just saved for the start of the second cour.
That is something that sort of confused me. That feels like a I hate saying this. Second core. It feels like a
Yeah.
beginning of second core thing. But to be fair, since it didn't annoy me as much because I mostly watched this show weekly. So it wasn't, as fresh in my mind as it would be if I was like binging it. I'm sure it would have pissed me off more if I had seen this over the course of like a week or something.
Yeah. I have only got 2 notes left before we diving into like the final closing thoughts, and it's all just Anya gushing, which
I
poor
don't
choice of
blame
words
you.
now in retrospect.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't bring this up either, given how much you were gushing about it in the content creator Discord. That one shot of Anya rubbing her eye as she's waking up is like probably the best shot of her in the entire show. Or at least the
I'm trying
cutest.
to remember that. I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, which is
I'm,
like
I'm
like she just woke up, she's like a little groggy from sleep. She's like good morning,
yeah,
and she's like in her
that's a really cute shot.
I
Honestly,
think my favorite thing about it was seeing the eyelid move in a realistic way, because usually when you see an anime girl rubbing her eyes, rubbing the sleep out of her eyes, they like their eyes will stay closed, or like it'll just be like her fist moving over her eye. But like we actually see the eyelid kind of like be forcibly like moved up and down, and sort of like it's not necessarily gross, but it's not like what you'd typically associate with like a cute anime girl rubbing her eye. Oh, it's so cute.
yeah,
But
it's
it's like
like
the
attention to
realism made it a
detail. Yeah.
yeah. I appreciated the realism of it.
I have the
Eh,
screenshot up right now, and yes, it is very. I have
that
attached
was
to
the
the
moment.
screenshot in all caps. This is the most moe thing in existence. My heart has
Yeah,
melted to a puddle.
yeah. That was the moment where you were like, oh yeah, Spike's Family's a masterpiece, 10 out of 10. And like I'm like, damn, Shoddy, the show ain't even done yet.
I mean, I guess we'll get into that more during our final thoughts on the show. But yep, that is about the moment when I said it's a 10 out of 10.
And the last note that I have is like with the last scene of the season, with her playing with her new toys and her new giant penguin plush that her dad got for her. And this is the most endearing Anya moment to me. Just her just being a kid playing with her toys and doing voices for playing like as treating them as essentially imaginary friends, giving them imaginary personalities, and playing spy, taking them all over the house and treating them like this is the command center. This is where we get all of our intel from, and it's just the TV with the cartoon on.
And I love how like she makes Lloyd and Yor go outside and play with her, and Lloyd's like so embarrassed about it.
I love
Putting
the
on this
fucking voice that he puts
Yeah.
on. And it's like so high pitched, and like you can tell the actor was like having a blast doing that.
It sounds
I
at once.
I would not be surprised if I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No,
I
you're fine.
just want to say I would not be surprised if like that one line probably had to have the most takes out of any line in the whole show, just probably because the actor couldn't, either the actor or the people in the booth couldn't stop laughing at the voice that he's doing.
It's also like really well voice acted because he at once sounds like awkward, high with the high pitched voice on, and also like so sick of it.
Oh, come on, oh yeah, there's no time to cry, we gotta finish the mission.
It's
It's
so
like exactly the
perfect.
kind of voice you would imagine like an older sibling or a parent would put on to like try to placate to their daughter when they're sad,
It's
and try to be like,
such
hey, don't be
yeah.
sad, Mr. Penguin says we gotta do some fun thing.
It's just it's such a funny scene. That I had the biggest smile on my face when I was watching that.
And that's pretty much Spy X Family season 1, Core 1. I want to drive a spike into my head every time I have to call it Core 1. Let's just call it season.
Yeah,
I don't think
Spy X
anyone's gonna
Family
begrudge
season 1.
us.
All right, from here on out, we're calling Core 1 Season 1 and Core 2 Season 2, because that's what it is. I refuse to believe anything else. The cores are a lie. So,
So I would say season 1 a strong 8 out of 10.
okay, so while I was watching Spy Family, right? I think my initial score for it was a 9. Well, no, I watched episode 1 and I was like, this is at least an 8 out of 10. At least I think it's going to be at least an 8 out of 10. And then it continued and I was like, actually, it's like a 9 out of 10. And as I was going on, I think it was about episode 4 where I had to start coming up with excuses to not give it a 10. And every episode I'd watch and I'd be like, that was absolutely incredible. Obviously it's not flawless. We talked a lot about, you're not getting the screen time we think she deserves, which might be remedied as the show goes on, depending on which direction it goes. We talked about the CG pedestrians at length because, yeah, they're a kind of annoying splotch on an otherwise absolutely fantastic show. But even those were like, that minorly bugs me. When they're on screen, I'm like, ew, that's gross. But it's like infrequent enough that I can tolerate it. And so, that didn't really knock it, like that doesn't really affect its score to me. And I kept on having to come up with excuses to not give it a 10. And that cute Anya moment and like that episode in general was just my breaking point where I was like, you know what, screw it. It's a 10. I'm just giving it a 10 already. And I thought perhaps, maybe these last 3 episodes will knock it down for me. Maybe I'll watch them and be like, that was actually quite boring. I'm going to lower it to a 9. No, they were just great. The dodgeball episode was really fun. Seeing how Anya got her first Stella made me be like, I want to watch, all these fun little scenarios to how she gets each Stella. I want to see her gradually get more and more Stella and watch that progression. You watch episode 12 and it's like that's just core Spy X Family, really good. And in the end, I can't give it anything else other than a 10. Like, it's great.
You see, I feel like if I were to give it a 10, that would be implying that I think it's on the same level as Dragon Maid, and I could not in good conscience admit that in any way, shape, or form.
I think Dragon Maid has the edge over Spy Family, but like I think they are, comparable enough in quality that I'd consider them both a 10. Although to be fair, my 10, to be fair, my 10s do vary quite a bit in quality. I mean, you've got Spy Family and Dragon Maid, but then you've got Sangatsu no Lion and Barakamon, which are basically just the 2 front runners of my 10 out of 10s that are so head and shoulders above everything else that it's unreal.
I feel like if the show was just a little bit, well, obviously cut out the CG crowds and the score might jump up to a 9. If like that was addressed, and then if the show was a little more tightly paced, like if it didn't feel so episodic and it felt like the events of the story were interconnected and not so just, the events of the story weren't so disconnected, I'd feel like, because I suppose you could also levy that criticism towards Dragon Maid. Like, you could switch around some of the episodes out of order and feel like that there's... Yeah, but,
Yeah.
like, when I say that, Dragon Maid's not going for a more detailed story or plot like Spy X Family clearly is. Like, with Spy Family, there is a goal. There is a set shonen goal to stop this war from going on. Operation Strix is the overarching narrative. There is no overarching narrative in Dragon Maid. Like, there are characters who do have end goals, and like there's the meta textual goal of, Kobayashi and Toru are going to get together by the end of it. We're just seeing that process play out organically, and we're probably not going to see it like to this end within that story, but there will come a point where we have established that Toru will outlive Kobayashi, and her existence will ultimately be a blip in her huge lifespan. But I feel like the familial stuff is stronger and better in Dragon Maid. The show is more beautiful, better directed, funnier, cuter. Because, like, as far as cuteness goes, Anya's just hard carrying that factor, whereas I suppose you could also make the argument that Kana is carrying the cuteness of the show, but I'd say Saikawa and Shota get their cute moments.
Honestly, I think every character in Dragon Maid is kind of cute in their own way.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't necessarily call Takia, excuse me,
Well, okay, not
Fafnir
Takia.
or Take cute.
Okay, that is true. But I mean, most of the characters have their own
They
sort
all
of
get endearing
cuteness.
moments. I feel like Dragon Maid has a stronger cast overall.
That is true.
Even if we cut out season 2 entirely and we're just comparing the first seasons, I'd still say Dragon Maid has a stronger cast.
That is also true. Like I'm basically agreeing with everything you say, and I'm still like, but I think it's I think it's about there. And I think a big part of it is just that the show is so right up my alley. You know, you get that slice of life stuff, you get the cute characters.
Oh, dude, found family is like my favorite
Yeah.
trope. So
It also has
The
found
fact that
family.
the fact that I'm so harsh on it is testament to why I like it so much. Because it hurts not giving it a higher score because I feel like that the pieces are there for something big. It just needs to be more tightly paced, tightly written, and give it a little more time in the oven production-wise so we don't see the horrible fucking CG crowds that don't need to exist coming from Wit and Cloverworks.
I just don't see any reason to give it less than a 10 because it's basically as enjoyable as a show reasonably can be. I mean, obviously you get your Sangatsu no Lions, which are just emotionally heart-wrenching the entire way through and are absolute masterpieces. But Spy X Family, for what it's trying to do, is about as good as it can be, bar some CG, bar your not having enough screen time, bar the odd moment here, there, some weirdness. It isn't.
Well, Yora
I'd
gets
say-
screen time. They just don't do
Well,
enough
yeah.
with it.
Yeah, more your plot stuff, basically.
Actually, like, do something with Yora
Yeah.
aside from just having her be an airheaded assassin. She's hot while doing it. Don't get me wrong. I need some. I like my meat not to be so chewy. I want it to be nice and rare. I want something I can properly sink my teeth into and not just chew on the same piece of fat for episodes on end.
Well, that was certainly an analogy. My hope
No,
is
the only thing fat about Yor is her ass.
incredible. My hope is that, and maybe this will age completely poorly, right? But my hope is that most of these criticisms will be remedied by season 2. I'm hoping that Yor will finally get the Yor arc. Maybe there'll be less CG, maybe it'll be more visually consistent now that the studio knows it's a massive success, which to be fair, they did preempt it being a massive success, but now they have the proof, and maybe they'll be like, put in a few extra dollary dues into this production and make it, as fantastic as it deserves to be. And maybe, the animators have now gotten used to animating and, directing this show. And with that, they'll be able to, tighten it up a little bit, tighten up that presentation, make it, feel as good to watch as it deserves to be. Because it really is a great story. And I'm wondering if the manga will be as good or better than the anime. Although I have heard that there is, like, episode 5 is mostly anime original content. So.
And it was the best episode,
Yeah.
so what does that say?
So maybe the manga will be more like a 9 out of 10. Or maybe the tighter presentation of the manga will in the end put it above. I don't know, but I really enjoy Spy Family for what it is.
And yet, I feel like that'll just about do her then.
Pretty
So,
much.
If you let us know what you thought about Spy X Family, viewer. We didn't forget that you exist.
No, we did. We forgot we were doing this for a podcast. We were just this was just a debate we happened to be recording.
No, Spy X Family's trash, actually.
Like I said, 3 out of 10.
They did not act. They did not animate the Anya genocide scene from the manga, therefore, it's a shit show.
Without that scene, is it really Spy Family?
Yeah, if you enjoy the podcast, leave a comment, leave a like. Definitely destroy that subscribe button. Like, make it wish it was never born, please. We're trying to hit 100 subs before the end of the summer. You gotta help us out here, bro. The last Spy X Family podcast only got 4 hours of watch time. We got kicked out of the Spy X Family subreddit because we couldn't talk about how good their show was there. It's for some backwards idiot reason.
Crying. Absolutely crying.
And as far as coming attractions go, we've got the big summer seasonal podcast coming out hopefully the last couple weeks of July, so it can come out in a timely fashion this time, unlike the last couple seasonal podcasts.
I'm hoping I'll be able to nut about Yofukashi no Uta the entire time. And also maybe, oh yeah, Maiden a bit, although we aren't covering that for the season. Never mind.
That gets its own special Snowflake podcast. Well, speaking of Maiden Abyss, we'll also be doing the movie real soon. That'll come out before the summer seasonal cast. And we will finally get to Bleach. No one is holding us accountable for it but us, but we will get to Bleach eventually, goddammit.
Remember when we said we'd do Bleach by the end of the month?
as well as the big Owl House Cross March Comes Like a Lion event.
God, I can't wait for that one. Honestly, the biggest excitement for me is just being able to rewatch Sangatsu no Lion. That right there is an attraction all on its own.
Yeah, me with Owl House as well. And we'll probably figure out what summer shows to cover in the podcast as well. So definitely make sure to keep an eye out for that. That looks like that's just gonna do her for this episode of Castaway Anime. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.